please. We're now recording, so everybody watch the foul language.
Right. All right.
Well, everybody, Michael Scott from Rose Paving is here. Asphalt's something a lot of us neglect, don't really think about throughout the year, and then by the time we figure out that we got to do something, it's really expensive. Michael's going to talk about some of the options for how to mitigate some of that, offset that, and maybe develop a plan for, you know, how to put some of that into your budget every year instead of having to do it all in one lump sum. Make it less disruptive for your tenants and less disruptive for your building owner's pocketbook. So I don't have any real Paragon business. Jen misses all of you. She'll see you next time. She's visiting with family the rest of the week here, but I think we'll get along without her okay. Without further ado, I will let Michael take it away.
All right. Well, welcome and thank you. So I'm Michael.
I'm sorry, guys, if you have questions, please type them in.
Yep. Anything, if you have a question as we're going, feel free to stop me as we go. I'm certain you have heard far more interesting topics than asphalt, concrete, and parking garages, you know, in your time with Paragon. But quick introduction of who Rose Paving is, because the Rose Paving name has only been in Phoenix for about 3 years. We were KFM Striping and Curb from 1984 until 3 years ago. Rose Paving acquired KFM as they were our partner in the state of Arizona. So that's where Rose Paving came from. We are in our 47th year of existence, and all that we do is maintenance. We don't do city work. We don't do any new construction. We only focus on maintenance. So asphalt repairs, concrete repairs, crack seal, seal coating, lot marking. Those needs are what we take care of. Anything beyond that, we know who to contact to help you out. And a lot of what I'm going to go over today is very generic to parking lots. So whether you use Rose Paving or your property manager has a company that they like, my goal is engineers are being tasked to do more than engineering. You guys are the ones typically putting out the RFPs for the proposals and then presenting them back to the property managers. So I find it far more beneficial to be dealing with the engineers than the property manager. They either don't want to know what's going on, don't choose to know what's going on, or just don't care about what's going on in their parking lot. But it can become a very expensive proposition if the parking lot's not maintained properly. So the presentation that I have, if you like it, I do have it in electronic form. I will be willing to email it to anybody that wants it. So it's easy to come by. So hopefully that works for you. All right. So again, Rose Paving was started in 1969 by Mike Rose, sold it to his brother, and we kind of moved along. Like I said, we got into Phoenix in 2018. We came to Phoenix, and here we are now. So again, we've been around a long time. We're not new. We kind of have a pretty good idea of what we're doing when it comes to asphalt. But the main point is we're not new. So we cover all 50 states. I know a lot of you guys come from other parts of the country. The thing that makes us unique is you get one account manager and you get one project manager. So I'll come in, I'll evaluate the work, I'll put the proposal together. And then once we turn you over to operations, they're really the ones that get it done. Our director of operations, the project manager, our field superintendent, and really the guys that are out there taking 400-degree asphalt off that truck and putting it down in the parking lot when it's 120 degrees outside are the guys that really make the difference for us. But it kind of gives you a little bit of scope of who we are. So again, we're going to cover the scale guide. I will go over what that is: preventative maintenance, structural maintenance, a pavement management plan. So more and more we're getting owners that want 3 to 5 year plans on their parking lot, depending on the size of the lot. A lot of that's in retail or large industrial lots, where there's 100,000 to 1 million square feet of asphalt. What's the best way to break that up? Because nobody can afford to do that at one time. And then really monitoring the work to see how everything's performing, right? We can do a lot. We really can't create miracles on lots if they've been gone too long, but we can do a lot to make those repairs work within a budget for the most part. And of the couple people that are in the room, we're doing work or have done work with most everybody that's here. So again, I can get you a copy of this, but scale stands for seal coating, crack sealing, asphalt, lot marking, and evaluation. That's where the word scale comes from. And that's what we're going to go through. So here we go. So we're going to talk about a physical inventory, right? And that is actually getting out and walking your parking lot. And that's the one thing I think that most people don't do. And we're going to talk about looking at more than just the parking lot, right? It's just not the asphalt that's there that we have to look at. But then how do you evaluate it, prioritize it, understand why it happened, make it fit into the budget, when to perform it, and again, monitor what was done and how well it is effectively working for the dollars that were spent. So physical inventory, right? Either with me, with whatever vendor you're walking with, whether we're a group. And the one thing that I will say when it comes to asphalt, if you are doing a bid, it's a lot better to get all the competitors together at one time. At least in this industry, we all tend to play pretty well together in sandbox, so that all of our measurements for repairs are the same, and you know, and we tend to measure everything about the same. But if you have 3 companies come onto your lot and look at repairs, we are all going to look at a remove and replace completely differently. And then your square footages are off and your bid numbers are traditionally pretty far off. If you bring us all together, we measure it as a group, we all bid at the same number, and then it really comes down to, you know, a lot of times who's the relationship is with, who you as building engineers have the most comfort with, and who historically is going to do the best job. And there are a lot of really good companies in the valley. But when you're out on the lot, it's not just looking for cracks. It's not just looking at the seal coat of the lot marking. You've got extruded curb and vertical curb that can be cracked, damaged, that needs to be replaced. You could have ADA signs that are no longer, you know, meet within the city limit for height. The signs are faded. They're just old, rusty. They don't look good. So those need to be replaced. Again, if you have a parking garage or a small deck, you know, that's something that a lot of times needs work. So more than just a seal coat. The remove and replace, we'll talk about that. Does the asphalt really need to be cut out? Can it be surface patched? Can it be heated up and just, you know, other asphalt put on it for a temporary fix? Crack seal, right? How big of a crack can actually be crack sealed? So we will crack fill anything over 1/4 of an inch up to an inch, inch and a half. So if you've got cracks on your lot that are over an inch, inch and a half wide, those technically should be cut out and repaired. So those are trip hazards. We can fill them, but as the asphalt, you know, contracts and expands, the crack seal is going to open up. It can pop out. It can come out with cars. So something you got to take a look at. Resurfacing the asphalt, concrete work, and then the lot marking. So those are kind of the things you look at when you're on a lot. And then I'll show you how to kind of go through a scale to determine, does a lot fall between a grade A, which is pretty much brand new, or an F, where you've got large potholes that collect water on the lot and is deteriorating the subbase on the lot. So that's what we would consider physical inventory, but you have to be on the lot, you have to be on the street that runs through your property to make that evaluation. It's the only way that you can do that.
Quick question.
Yep.
All those things that you on the previous slide, you guys do all those services?
We do.
The 6 that was on there?
Yep.
You guys do all that?
Yeah, so we'll do from the repairs to the crack seal and seal coat, the lot mark, and then pretty much
Seal coating?
seal coating and stuff in the garage, right? And we'll touch on the different types of seal coat and how long they last. And when you know that parking lot needs to be done. So a grade A lot, right? You're looking at this. It's either that's a brand new parking lot or that entire lot was recently overlaid. And when we talk about an overlay, it's typically 1.5 inches of asphalt that goes over the existing surface. And that will buy a lot 20 years, depending on how bad it's cracked up underneath. So you can do a 2-inch overlay on a lot, And the benefit to doing a 2-inch overlay as opposed to a 1.5-inch overlay is we can weave, not putting a big sheet of fabric in it, but the asphalt manufacturer actually weaves fabric into the stone, which gives it a little bit more durability and strength. So it's going to last longer on the lot. But the other thing you notice about a lot when it's new is asphalt is black, right? So asphalt goes down, it's black, and it's going to stay black for 8 to 12 months. And then it's going to turn gray. And the property manager typically says, why is the parking lot gray? What happened? Why didn't this company do a good job? So like anything else, all the oils come out of that surface over the course of 8 to 12 months. So we tell people, if we put new asphalt down in a large area, we need 8 to 12 months or 1 Phoenix summer to heat all that stuff out. And once that lot turns gray, that's when it wants to be seal coated, right? The lot is, it's kind of like your skin. Your skin's dry, you can feel, right? But moisturizer on and your skin's better. Parking lot's the exact same way. Once that new asphalt goes down, you have to come back in 8 to 12 months. So if you take over a property that's brand new construction, it is not the responsibility of the contractor to seal coat the lot. They're going to build it, they're going to turn it over to the property management company, and then somebody has to come in 8, 10, 12 months, seal it, stripe it, and that lot should be good for a couple of years, depending on what we do to it. So again, in brand new lot, that's the only time a lot gets an A. And we'll say nothing really has to be done. So kind of the other side of that parking lot, right? So we're still at Home Depot. A B lot, you're starting to see signs of wear. So you've got some asphalt patching that kind of went on a lot. You can kind of see it down the middle. Some of the stuff started to stripe away. You can see where the asphalt's getting gray, and it needs to be working. We don't have cracking. We don't have a lot of alligatoring on this particular lot, but the asphalt's gray. There's already been some repair work done to it, but the biggest thing it's looking for is looking for seal coat. So, and then when we get into talking about seal coat, it's again, how long they want it to last, how much money the property manager wants to spend, because there are typically 3 types of seal coat that we can use on a lot. So that is a B lot. And then a C, this is what we see most often when we get, by the time you guys are asked to go to bid on a parking lot. Repairs are done, it's extremely faded, there's cracking, alligatoring throughout the lot. You're just starting to see a lot of wear, right? So parking stalls are typically in better shape than the drive lanes. And these parking stalls are typically in better shape before COVID because there's always cars parked, right? So the cars block the sun can't get onto the asphalt, that, you know, work it out. So more times than not, the majority of the repairs that have to be done on a lot are going to be in your drive lanes. We can come in if you've got a lot with a lot of carports on them. We can go in and really just focus on drive lanes because again, typically where the sun doesn't get, it's not drying it out, it's not cracking it. The seal coat that's down typically doesn't fade off like it does in the drive lanes. So, but again, it's considerably worse than, whoops. Where's my, than that lot, right? So brand new, looks good. Grayed out, repairs, it's been crack sealed. You can just tell that lot needs a considerable amount more work. A D lot, this is where you see all this, right? All this cracking throughout the parking lot, if you guys can see that on the call. So this is stuff that typically should never be seal coated over when your lot looks like this. If somebody does want to seal coat over it, we typically tell them to do a base seal coat because the parking lot is not going to outlast the seal coat. So seal coating won't hide that. Seal coating is actually going to make it where you can see all those cracks more than you can when it's gray because everything's going to be shiny and black. And the property manager can go, well, that looks horrible. What did they do? Well, we sealed the lot, but all the cracks are far more visible. And when we go on to crack seal, there isn't an asphalt company in Phoenix that will crack seal all the alligator areas in the parking lot. We're going to get the big cracks, the vertical, the horizontal lines. That's what they're going to go over, but you're still going to have all this cracking. And as water and moisture or sun gets onto this asphalt, it's gonna start to chunk out in pieces, and that's where the pothole starts. So a lot like this would be a good candidate for extremely heavy seal coat, or an overlay, or repairs down the drive lane. We could go through and mill all that out. We get a lot of people that call us and say they want a slurry on a lot that looks like this. So we don't perform slurry work. The majority of the asphalt companies in the valley don't perform slurry work. If you have a building owner out of California, they're going to call and say they want slurry, because most times they confuse slurry with seal coat. But seal coat was designed for parking lots. Slurry was designed for roadways. Slurry likes to be driven straight without cars turning on it, where seal coat has got rubberized polymers in it that allow a little bit more flexibility. But this type of lot, the owner is going from pennies on the dollar, like 8-10 cents, to $1.25 to $3, $4 a square foot to start repairing it. So this is the owner that wanted to wait because they had to paint the building. They wanted to wait because they had to replace the chiller. They wanted to wait because maybe they were going to sell the building. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, the parking lot doesn't look good, or somebody tripped. Can you go out and get bids? And now they don't have the money to fix the parking lot. So when it gets to this state, definitely time to do repairs. It gets a lot more expensive. And then you finally have this lot. This is a real picture from Phoenix. I'm not going to say what property it is. It's in Glendale. It's a shopping center, and there's a high school on the lot. This is one of about 8 potholes. This is one of the smaller ones. I just took the picture because the duck was in it. This doesn't happen very far long after the D grade of parking lot. And when this starts to happen, this is where we get into subgrade issues. And you guys all know how it goes. You've got a leak in a building, you cut open the wall, right? You tell the property manager it's going to be X amount of dollars, but you don't know the reality of the repair until you get the wall open, or you get the area of repair open, and you realize all this unforeseen damage, right? The costs go up. So we come into a situation like this, and when we remove the asphalt, the term we use is pumping. So water's gotten into the subbase, and the subbase is actually moving. So we then have to muck out all that dirt, we have to muck out all that gravel and start pouring it back. And we don't really know how bad it's gonna be until it gets like this. So the goal is, if you've got a parking lot that's got a lot of alligatoring on it, is to get the property manager to start to do something sooner than later. So we can put asphalt down 365 days a year. The only time the asphalt plants are closed is all the major holidays and Sundays. So if you've got a building that needs weekend repairs because of the traffic that comes in and out of your building, more times than not, the plants are open on Saturday because the city of Phoenix is doing repairs. So the plants are open. They're never open on Sundays. And if we have to open an asphalt plant on a Sunday, it's a $2,500 fee right off the bat to get asphalt. So, we start a repair on a Saturday afternoon and we find out we've got a lot more extensive damage, and it carries into Sunday. It's an automatic change order of $2,500. So you never want a lot to get to this kind of condition. You want to get it in that B to C stage. But the reality is most lots we see are in that C to D stage.
Did you just get some cold patch from Home Depot and put it in there?
You could. It'll hold for a week or two and then it'll be gone. But I mean, if you had to do an emergency patch like that, the asphalt companies come out and we can put hot patch in there, but we still have something we've got to cut out and do, repair, because all that alligator asphalt, nothing's gonna adhere to it. And it's just gonna keep coming out. So that's kind of when you're out there looking at the lot, and all of that focused on the asphalt. But again, if you've got landscape islands, cars or trucks, all the landscape islands are extruded curb. Cars and trucks are gonna break all that extruded curb away. Again, your ADA signs and posts, or the width of the ADA stall, right? Because it's got to be 11 and 5, could be an issue. But there's a lot of things to look at, as we go through. So what causes a parking lot to fail predominantly is the sun. So we live in a market, we don't worry about frost heave and snow accumulation, but the Phoenix sun is the worst sun in the entire country for destroying asphalt. Snow and frost can never do what the Phoenix sun does to the pavement, right? It is the surface temperature of the asphalt on most days. Walking parking lots for a living, it's hot. It's really, really hot when you're out there. So the sun, the water, and the chemicals that come out of the cars are the predominant things that cause damage to a lot. And if you think about it, you go to more in retail, but you see it a lot in office buildings where the asphalt's deteriorated and there's a big grease stain where the car is parked. That's something, again, that seal coat is never going to adhere to, but vehicle damage, the fuel, all the stuff that leaks out of cars, tremendous amount of damage. It just eats right through the concrete. And it's something to be very conscious of when you're looking at the lot, because we can't seal coat over it. We can paint it black, it just won't hold. And the property manager is going to get upset if we do something. But those are everything above the line are the predominant reasons why a parking lot fails. Traffic loading, cars don't do a lot of damage, but if you go to your dumpster areas at pretty much any of your buildings, the garbage truck does a tremendous amount of damage. If you're that first stop on a given day, the truck is empty, it's not going to be that bad. But you have to think that the weight of the dump truck is it fills during the day. That truck comes in, it's banging the dumpster, the truck's bouncing on the asphalt. You can see where the garbage truck goes. And most parking lots in Arizona are 3 inches deep. New construction is starting to go to 2.5, unless it's an industrial property. Industrial is starting to go to 4 to 6 inches of asphalt. They're starting to increase the amount of concrete they're putting down. But the garbage truck really is the traffic loading area. So by most dumpsters, all that asphalt 9 out of 10 times is going to be completely busted up. And that's an area that we always focus on when we're on a lot. We have to do this. And our goal as Rose Paving is if we do a repair by a dumpster, we're going to put it back at 4 inches. We're not going to put it back at 2.5 or 3. We're going to dig it out a little bit, put it back at 4. It will hold longer than any of you will be at the building you're working in right now. So you'll be gone before that asphalt fails. So now we're into the preventative maintenance. So you can do asphalt patching and repair. You got to look at your catch basins, your storm drains on your property, because if the asphalt fails around there and you get water underneath all that concrete, you're going to have a lot of big problems. Infrared, I'm going to touch on. We don't do a lot of it in Arizona. Concrete maintenance, crack sealing, seal coating, and lot marking are kind of the things that you have to look at when you get onto the parking lot. So asphalt patching, there's a couple of ways that you can patch your parking lot. Most people think of a full depth remove and replace. So we can go into small areas and we can saw cut it. We take the bobcat, we take the asphalt out, we put the new asphalt in, and that area is taken care of. You get into big drive lanes or large areas of parking lots, we'll bring in a milling machine. And I'm sure most people have seen a milling machine go through the lot, right? Those machines are just taking the asphalt out, several thousand, square feet at a time, spitting it all right into a truck. And then we grade it out and put it back. So that's the most expensive way to repair it. And not every lot calls for that. You can also surface patch it. So a remove and replace is, again, full depth, 2.5, 3 inches, 4 inches, whatever the parking lot is. And again, when a building's built new, a curb face is 6 inches, right? Everybody knows that a curb face is 6 inches. So if we come onto your lot and we're going to do repair and your curb face is 4 inches or 3 inches, that tells us that parking lot's had an overlay done on it. So chances are there's 4 to 5 inches of asphalt that's there. So when we go in, and a rep should tell you this, we're going to do repairs, you may have a change order, because if we go in and it's 4 inches deep, we have to put it back at 4 inches. Otherwise you're going to have a dip. So that's going to cost more money. We can always come onto a lot for $500, drill about 7 or 8 core holes, see exactly how deep the asphalt is. You'll know up front, there's no hidden fees at that point. We put the core hole right back in. It's fine. Nobody really knows it's there, but the property manager now knows exactly how much they're going to spend. If we do a surface patch is only 1 inch of asphalt, right? And that's typically where, we try to blend it down. Nobody ever mills around the area that we're gonna put the patch in. We just go in with 1 inch of asphalt, we go over the rough area, roll it down. You typically see that little kind of dome, exactly where the surface patch was. But those are the 2 ways to repair it. You can, want to do it the right way, you go around the area that you're gonna surface patch and you just take the mill machine, 2 foot, 18-inch pass around each edge, put the asphalt down, it'll be smooth as the day it was put down brand new. Costs a little bit more, but the aesthetic look of it is a lot better. So that's preventative maintenance on a parking lot. Again, your catch basins, boy, this was not taken in Arizona because there's frost. But the point of the picture is you don't want to see all the alligatoring around your sewers, your storm drains, because as that asphalt fails and that water gets underneath, we're not going to perform that work, but you're going to have a really big item on your hands you're going to have to replace if that sewer starts to sink. And we do see that quite a lot. So making sure that asphalt around all the storm drains, the catch basins, water valves, the thing that's missing, and I don't know if anybody in the room knows, what's missing around that storm drain? The concrete collar, right? The mag spec collar should be there. And that would prevent what's going on. So if we come in and perform work on a parking lot, if we get into where there's utilities, we're gonna put a concrete collar back around everything that we do. And most companies should do that. So water valve should have a concrete collar, storm drain should have a concrete collar. The only thing that shouldn't is the storm drain, because you actually want the asphalt to come down on an angle so the water flows in to those. Everything else should be flush. But catch basins an area to take a look at. Infrared technology, if people came from other markets, it's the only reason I touch on this, is we go into the existing asphalt, we take the infrared machine, set it down on top, kind of like you were gonna do asphalt stamping, and you heat it up so that it's soft, and we rake it out to repair what's there. We can put just a little bit of new asphalt over the top, roll it smooth. It is a temporary fix. You got a really bad area, it's eating up cars, people on the property are complaining about it. You go in, you heat it up, rake it smooth because it's soft, mix in just a little bit of new asphalt, and then you build it into the budget for the following year. You go and you cut it out and fix it.
So how temporary, what does time frame?
About a year.
A year?
Mhm. Yeah, it is truly a Band-Aid. And I'm sure that everybody on the Zoom call and the guys that are in the room, you can go onto a parking lot and there's so many areas that have been patched, it's almost a brand new lot, right? Because they're never fixing the entire lot. There's just 100 areas that have been repaired. So everybody assumes that you can do all these surface patches and all these small areas of R&R, and you never actually have to repair or replace the entire lot. It's not the case. So this is just a temporary fix. Somebody's selling a building and they got a big hole and have a lot of money to spend. That might be an option, right? Because we do get that a lot. Concrete, we do concrete work. Depending on the size of the job, we do have a concrete vendor that we work with. We are building our in-house concrete division, but we do all types of concrete repair. So predominantly it's sidewalks and curbs that we deal with. And that could be vertical curb, extruded curb, or just, some sprinkler lines running the sidewalk. There was a leak, right? So, Anthony's in the back out of their property in Tempe. There's 3 sidewalk panels that we're coming in to replace.
Concrete jacket.
That is where we bring in A1. Going out to look at his property again next Thursday to jack up some areas. But yeah, that's something we can take care of as well.
Sidewalks that are.
It depends on the situation, but yeah, we can come out and take a look at those and evaluate and see what it is. Every situation is always different in what it needs, but part of what we try to figure out is what was the cause of the failure. Yeah, and then Tom was the cause. Try to figure out what it takes to do it. But a lot of times, right, something chipped away or there was a bollard somewhere that, you don't need to have a bollard anymore. So the concrete's got to be patched. There's trip hazards. If anybody does any retail, trip hazards are a big thing right now. So those either have to be ground down or, something's got to be lifted, make it so it's not a trip hazard. Again, it's something we take care of, even though our name says paving, we do that. Crack sealing, right? So we're kind of gone through the repairs, touched on the storm drains, crack sealing. So alligator area in the drive lane. Again, this isn't something you want us to crack seal and leave. So this should be removed and replaced. If the property manager doesn't want to crack seal it, we're going to go right down that vertical line in the middle. We're not going to touch anything else. In a year, that's going to lift out, and there's going to be chunks missing from it. So, the right way to do it would be to patch it or get it before it gets to that point. And on the other side is we go through and we just patch that vertical line. And most of the times where asphalt cracks vertically, if you've ever seen anybody put down asphalt, our pave box is 8 feet wide. We can take it out to 10 feet wide. So we lay down a patch of asphalt 10 feet wide. We go to the next area, put a patch of asphalt down 10 feet wide. Those are those vertical seams where most asphalt cracks. And that's typically where we have to come back, right? It's a seam. So it's like anything else, the seam's gonna crack. You will get other cracking on a lot, but again, it is 1/4 inch wide to 1.5 inches wide. Anything beyond that, you need to start to look to have it repaired. And that's a 2-foot cut down the crack. So that's crack sealing. Seal coating. So this isn't right. This is what everybody wants the most, right? We're out. We can crack seal without seal coating. Rose paving will not seal coat without crack sealing. So if you ask us to come on your lot and say, "Oh, do we want to seal coat?" We're not going to do anything with any of the cracks. We will probably pass you on to the next company down the road because we warranty our work and it's not the right way to do it. So when you get into seal coat, I would say there's 3 kinds of seal coat. And I explain it to people like this. There's chocolate milk, there's a milkshake, and then there's black Elmer's glue. So the base seal coat, and we predominantly use Seal Master out of our office. There is Guard Top. They're newer. We've been using Seal Master since '84. Their base seal coat is called Master Seal. It will paint the parking lot black. It will typically last 1 to 2 years. That's it. You'll start to see it graying out in that 12 to 18 months. And that's just that process. You're continually putting it down. The second product, the middle of the road, is called PMM. So it's a poly modified product. It will stay black pretty much the entire time it's down. That's that equivalent to a chocolate milkshake. It's a little bit thicker. We can squeegee on a coat, or we can spray on 2 coats. That is going to buy a property 2 to 4 years, depending on what the existing conditions were at the time we put it down. About a 10-15% increase in cost. It's nothing ridiculously big, but it's going to last longer. It's going to look a lot better. And then the last product is called Liquid Road. So I try to say the Liquid Road is the equivalent of, it's a slurry designed for parking lots, right? So it's got the heavier sand in it, but it's tumbled at the manufacturer. So have you ever seen people put down slurry? The slurry comes out at the exact same time as the rock does. So it never has a chance to get rolled and all those stones and all that sand to get mixed together. So all the seal coat products are blended and mixed continuously. So everything is together. And if you put it down, and I will say this, if anybody is curious to see what Liquid Road looks like going down next Thursday, if you're near Glendale, come to Mountainside Fitness at 75th and the 101. You can see where we put Liquid Road down on a really bad lot. You can watch us put it down and see how thick it is. Liquid Road has to be squeegeed on. It's the only way it can go down. It is so thick, you shouldn't spray it. If people say they're spraying it, they're probably watering it down and they're taking away from what the material is actually supposed to be. But when you squeegee it on, it gets into all the really rough areas. And this is when you can physically see the stone aggregate in a parking lot that you want to put, the Liquid Road down. And you've got areas that have cracking like this, and the property manager doesn't want to fix them because it's just not in the budget. It's something they don't want to fix them, it's not in the budget. Squeegeeing on Liquid Road it'll actually get into some of those cracks and it will help adhere it together. And the Liquid Road is going to last 4 to 5 years. It is going to stay black the entire time it's down. We then have to lay out the saw lines because everything's going to disappear after we put this down. But it is the best product to mask what's down and hold it together a little bit longer. But I also find myself telling property managers in a lot of cases, if you're not going to do the repairs, don't waste your money on the enhanced seal coat if the lot's that bad, because you need to take your budget money and do the repairs first, and then put money in the budget for the following year to come in and seal coat it. A brand new parking lot, if you're in a building that's got a brand new parking lot or somebody's overlaid it, you should go with the middle of the road, have them spray 2 coats of the PMM down, because that is going to take to that asphalt the best. It's going to make it look the best. It's going to make it last the longest. But with all that said, so whether you put a product on last 2 years, 4 years, or 5 years, parking lots in Arizona are built to last 20 to 30 years. So I came in earlier and Dan was talking about a chiller, right? How long does a chiller last, Dan? What were you saying, 20, 25 years?
Water cooled 20 to 30 years.
20 to 30 years. If you don't do any maintenance on that cooler, how long is it gonna last? One, right? So or they don't do the right maintenance on it. It's not gonna make it the lifespan that it was built to last. So asphalt's the same way. If we give you an overlay, you're gonna get 20 years out of that overlay, assuming you crack seal it and seal coat it at the time intervals of the parking lot needs it to be done. If you don't, because everybody takes the money from the parking lot, because they don't think anything happens to parking lots in the state of Arizona, because we don't have any real weather, the parking lots in the last 5 to 10 years. And again, that cost to do those repairs goes up really, really, really quickly. So come in, put the seal coat down. You know, I tell people you crack seal your lot every single year, because there are always cracks to deal with every single year. Lot market every year, so people know where to park. Aesthetically, the building looks good, doesn't look faded, it doesn't look old, and then you seal coat it at whatever interval, you know, based on the product that was down or what the parking lot's asking for. But you can't cheat the seal coat. If the lot's not seal coated, it's going to deteriorate quicker, it's going to look bad, and we're going to come in and say, there's really not a lot we can do, but if you want me to seal coat it, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the base seal coat, because you're going to have to do repairs in 2 years. And that's just the reality. And personally, I'm not going to go and take a property manager's money. I have a property manager for a wife, and I understand how they think, and they think in cost, in terms of dollars and cost. So I'm not going to do that to them or myself. Lot marking, again, I said you should lot mark every year. We have standard traffic paint, and then we use Gorilla Paint. If somebody wants to put on a heavy duty second coat, it is going to last twice as long as traffic paint. So most proposals, when you get them, you're going to see in there for lot marking, lot mark per existing using 1 coat of traffic paint. You can put 2 coats of traffic paint down depending on which seal coat. So if you went with a PMM or a liquid road where it's black, we recommend going with 2 coats, especially liquid road. You always should go with 2 coats. But if lot marking is the cheapest thing you're ever do to your lot. But if you go in every year, have us go over the lines, it's just going to look better. So crack seal it, lot mark it every year, a lot will look good. And again, it's pennies on the dollar. But with that said, we're also, and I keep saying we're looking at ADA stalls. So in the city of Phoenix, every ADA stall has to be 11 feet wide with a 5-foot crosswalk. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. So if we come on your lot and your stalls don't meet that criteria, we're going to readjust all those ADA stalls when we put your lot lines back, and the property is going to ultimately lose parking spots when they're up there. So you have to think about, if you have an older building, if it's not 11 and 5, they're not compliant. And if we restripe, we have to put them back to the correct standard. And any maintenance company should be telling you the exact same thing. So in a lot of the older stalls for ADA are 8.5 and 9 feet wide, and they just don't work. So there's something to think about, again, when you're out there looking at your parking lot, or when we bring it up because we're out there. And again, us as Rose Paving, if you say, no, just put it back the way it is, we're probably going to walk away from the job because it's not the right way to do it. So, and we're ultimately responsible for it at that point. So that was kind of the services, the maintenance, the things to do on the lot. Does anybody put up any questions? I know this is a stimulating topic, but seeing if anybody has any questions on anything. No? Okay. I got 19 minutes left and I'm using every bit of that 19 minutes. I'm just kidding. All right, so services overview, so concrete, asphalt, and then reconstruction. So I've talked, we do concrete, so it could be, from curbs to loading docks to sidewalks, depending on what your property is, that is something that we can do if you contact us. Again, concrete has gotten very expensive. There's been 4 price increases on concrete this year. Asphalt has gone up just over $4 a ton. That's a lot. Asphalt is going to continue to rise. It is 100% tied to the cost of petroleum. So if you think about how much more you're paying at the pump today than you were paying back, say, on January 19th, 20th-ish, you're paying more. The oil futures are up over $100. So the cost of asphalt is going to go up a lot. So if you're on a property that has asphalt work that needs to be done, I'd get some pricing locked in sooner than later, because it's going to get a lot more expensive in the coming months. But concrete has gone up 4 times. So concrete's very expensive to do right now. So something to keep that in mind.
Quick question.
Yeah.
You guys give a quote, how long is it good for?
Typically 30 to 90 days is all we can guarantee. And concrete is closer to, concrete's gone up every quarter. And all the concrete companies are in the same boat. There's just nothing they can do. So concrete's been iffy, but there's been times that I've been able to go back and say, hey, can we hold this price? And we can. There's times that we can't. But if now more than if I gave somebody a bid in February, I probably couldn't honor it, even on the asphalt, because I probably bid asphalt at $72 range. And now I'm in the 76, get close to $77 range. So depending on how many tons that was, it just, yeah, it's gone up a lot. So
You guys can saw cut, hammer out concrete, do all the demo and pour back new slabs?
yep.
How small of jobs do you do?
From filling in a bollard to a trip hazard, put in a new driveway over at 1560, and
Do you do that in-house or you sub that out?
it's a mix. We're growing the concrete division. So we stole the concrete truck from California. And again, if there's a labor shortage, everybody's seeing it. So getting good trades, concrete people that know what they're doing is as difficult as finding a good building engineer. So we're doing some in-house, and then we're using our concrete. We have 2 concrete vendors that we use to do that. So again, asphalt resurfacing. What they're doing here is an overlay. So they're putting 1.5 inches of new asphalt down, resisting asphalt.
What do you do when you do an overlay? What do you do where you meet your concrete edges, your gutters and your?
We have to mill it all back 4 feet.
So you just taper it?
So we taper it from, if we're doing 1.5 inches to 0.
Yeah.
And we'll go through, I shouldn't say every time it's 4 feet. It could be 18 inches to 4 feet, depending on what it is. So it's usually every entrance, drive entrance. So whether it's at a concrete edge or the street, but all the curb and gutter, any valley gutter running through, if it's extruded curb, we'll go right up to it. Or even if it's vertical curb with no gutter,
Yeah.
we go right up to it.
If it has a gutter, you mill the existing concrete back or you taper the overlay down to it?
No, we mill it back.
Mill it back.
There is no way to taper it to
I wouldn't think so.
the asphalt. I've seen it.
Sure.
Looks horrible, and it becomes a trip hazard. But no, it's milled. It's milled back. So yeah, that's again. There's one way to do it right, and all that we do is maintenance. So that's why we're going to do it. So typically we go in, we're prepping, we're doing all that one day, and then we're coming in and we're milling it the next day. So this is a good way to cheat. If there's broken extruded curb that's cracked, when we run the asphalt right up to it, we can usually set that curb back in place, and we run the asphalt right back up to it, and it keeps it in place almost like it's a vertical curb. Speed bumps, some companies like to mill out the speed bump in an overlay. You have to think a speed bump is just glued, we just tack it to the asphalt. But if you overlay a speed bump, you've actually locked it in place. So it's very difficult for a vehicle or a truck to destroy the speed bump. So it's a good way to make it a permanent speed bump instead of a just glued to the ground speed bump. And again, overlays can be done. You can do a 1-inch cap. Again, you'll get a couple of years out of a 1-inch cap. So if somebody's selling a property, some come, oh, we want a slurry coat. Well, we don't do slurry. I'll give you a price for a 1-inch cap. But if you do a full overlay, it's 1.5 to 2 inches is all you can do for an overlay. Asphalt reconstruction. So this is at full depth, right? So this is a big drive lane. So this is where you'd have a milling machine come through. And we use a company called Braco. They drop the teeth to 3 inches and they just go right down the street and mill it out. To mill out that road would probably take them 2 hours.
Do you have to come back and re-roll that road base?
We go behind them with our Gannon and do the light grading on it before we put the asphalt
So
down.
you just scrape it, you don't roll it, repack it or anything?
Typically, no. If it's compact already, if there was no sub-base damage, they will run the roller over it 1 or 2 passes, but we're not doing extensive grading on the area. So yeah, they'll rake it smooth, they will roll it, and then they'll put the asphalt back.
Unless you have to. Right?
Yeah, and again, so the nice thing about if we're doing a full depth removal, asphalt doesn't stick to concrete. So if it is vertical curb, it just pops right off. It doesn't adhere to it at all. So it'll come off. So we don't have to mill. We don't have to mill around this garbage enclosure. We don't have to mill down the vertical curb and gutter here. All that asphalt is just going to pop away. The only place we would saw cut is up by that landscape island in the middle, because that's just extruded curbing. So we saw cut around that and then it just pops out. And then they'll go with the crowbar and jack and just pop it out. What's there? So that is a full depth remove as opposed to an overlay. All right, so again, the whole point of the scale guide, which again, if anybody wants a copy, I'm more than happy to send you this. The scale guide's got a lot of really nice information in it that beyond what's in this presentation, but it's a seal coat, crack seal, asphalt lot marking evaluation guide. So we talked about the physical inventory, talked about evaluating, categorizing defects, prioritizing what needs to be done, repairs over seal coat every time. Repairs should always be done. And if somebody comes in, you've got a lot that needs a lot of repair, I'm like, oh, we'll just seal coat it for you. So good example, I had a property manager, I was bidding against another company, very small parking lot. I had about 2,000 square feet of remove and replace on a 13,000 square foot lot. It was a small lot. The competitor wasn't doing any repairs and wanted to do a middle of the road seal coat. And I said, well, it doesn't do you any good to do the middle of the road seal coat. One, it's an urgent care. You've got cracks and trip hazards all over the place. Let's do the repairs in this year's budget and seal coat it next year. So we're going to do the work. If you listen to what I said, which is rare, we're going to do the repairs and we're going to come back next year and do the seal coat. It's just the right way to do it. But really understanding what caused the asphalt to fail. In a lot of cases, I'm sure everybody's had a sinkhole or something on their lot. What caused the sinkhole, right? Because we can come in and open it up, but we really don't know what the true cause was until we get the hole open. And then there's usually something else that's got to be done for that. And then the pavement management plans we'll kind of get into in a second. So this is that 5-year plan or 3 to 5 year plan on a lot. And in most cases, it's really taking everything that we've gone over already and doing the parking lot in sections. So if you've got a significant size lot, we can do repairs in one area the first year, come back the second year, do the next area of repairs and seal coat the first area. And you kind of work through the lot, right? Because depending on the amount of repairs that we do, we need that asphalt to sit. And asphalt should sit anywhere from 30 days for a small repair. Don't ever let anybody come in and do repair in your lot and seal coat it, the next day. It's going to be a problem. Do the repairs and we're going to tell you we're going to come back in X amount of months to do the seal coat. Unless it's just a really small little itty bitty patch, but anything significant, we're going to come back in a period of time and then we'll seal it. So the lot's working its way through phases. You're constantly doing repairs and then coming back, resealing what you did the previous year. I prefer a 3-year plan over a 5-year plan because if you can get everything repaired and that lot in 3 years, you come through the final time and you do one seal coat over the entire parking lot. And now the lot is on the exact same schedule. What you don't ever want is this half of the lot was done in 2021. We're doing this part of the lot in 2022. We're doing this part of the lot in 2023. Nothing's ever on the same schedule. The lot really doesn't look as good as it ultimately should look. And they're constantly spending useless money. Just work in phases, get everything done in a shorter span of time. And we will go through and put together a plan that kind of looks something like this. So we're going to show you the years, we're going to give you a grade. So if we were to start on a lot back in 2018, we would have done the repairs on the yellow portion in the middle, and then gone on to the 2019 area, going back to the 28. So we repair it, come the next year, repair it, but seal what we did the previous year. And then in a course of time, the entire lot will be full, but we typically work in to out, depending on the size. Now, this is a large banking center, so there's probably 2 million square feet of asphalt. But I'm just submitting a bid now for 1.5 million square feet of asphalt on a commercial property out in Chandler. That property is 6 or 7 years old. They've never sold it once. So it's got a variety of issues going on it, but they never touched it ever in 6 years. But this is what a plan would look like. So you know, the property manager can go to ownership and say, this is what each one of these sections is going to cost year by year. And then ownership can determine if they want to do it in 3 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, don't do anything at all, right? But it's a comprehensive plan that, you know, gives somebody a roadmap to get something done. So benefits of doing your management plan, right? Allows the facility to absorb the cost, reduces time spent on decision making because now you know what you've got to do year after year. Long-term bottom line savings, you can get pricing locked in. You know what to expect in a lot, right? Somebody says, well, when are you going to do this repair? Oh, we got that coming up in 2 years. It's easy. Everybody knows when it is. Liabilities are reduced, and the property value will increase because all that work is ultimately going to get done. So, and again, that's free of charge. There are companies out there that charge to come in and put a 5-year plan together. Rose Paving does not. We'll give it to anybody that wants it. That's just part of what we do. Green paving. If anybody's on a building that, right, you get a bunch of tree huggers as owners, you can't, there are seal coats, and you're starting to see them more and more. They're gray, and they reduce the heat island effect.
Is that what the city's using?
City is starting to use it. Yeah, Scottsdale is using it a lot. But it's a gray coating, and it does reduce the service time 10 to 15 degrees, and it's supposed to last like 5 years. But you're basically rolling it out. Like, it's a process. It's expensive, but if somebody says that, right, we got to have a green solution for the parking lot, there are options. It can't be like, well, that doesn't exist. That's totally not true. And beyond seal coating, if anybody has buildings in Scottsdale and you have super tight parking and somebody says, oh, we're going to go cut all these Palo Verde trees down in the parking lot and turn all these landscape islands into parking stalls, City of Scottsdale especially will not let you cut down a Palo Verde tree in a parking lot. What we have done is we've gone and reduced the size of the island and put in permeable pavers so that the tree still gets its water. The tree's still there, the landscape island is gone, but now you can park on the pavers because it's a flat surface. So something to think about as far as creating options, not cutting down trees, being sustainable, or somebody's got a ton of money and they need a couple lead points for their building. We've got an option for that. Same thing with red curbs. So most red curbs are high gloss red. We have a 2-part process that we use that lasts 10 years. So it won't fade out. Just throwing that out there. So you're reducing cost. You're not using paint. Kind of falls into that green, sustainable, use less, make it last longer category.
Now you're cutting into our bread and butter.
Because you want these guys out painting curbs?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, guys. I tried. Don't necessarily do a whole lot of, again, we don't do new construction, but we do all of our own demoing. We can work with consultants for layouts. We have had it in Scottsdale where we've had to do core testing and asphalt compaction tests when we've been out there. We can do the grading. We raise and lower utilities within our paving area. I should have taken lighting and landscaping out. We don't do that at all, but we can work on projects larger than just, we can get into bigger maintenance projects on lots. So if that's an option, and then I know I'm running out of time. Any questions?
You're either very thorough or.
No, that's never the case, because half the people have been at home drinking beer. I mean, these guys are drinking beer here, so if you guys aren't drinking beer at home, you're missing out.
What if you have groundwater seepage coming up? Issues like that.
We need to remove the asphalt and see what's causing that seepage to come up. But that's where when we take that asphalt out, more times than not, we're gonna have to muck out that dirt and gravel and get down to where it's dry and then start filling it back in, whether we fill it back in with AB, concrete slurry, or asphalt to go over and then build it back up. But it's what that work causes. And if there is seepage coming up through the asphalt, that's gonna be a major pothole
Cause I know.
or a sinkhole.
I know, concrete seeps a lot of water in certain areas of the valley.
Right.
And it just destroys floors. And you seal that floor. I mean, the water has to go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the typical problem we see on parking lots is they've been overlaid over time. The actual grade slope of the parking lot has changed, so the water's not going where it's supposed to go. Or where there's areas of repair within the slope, so the water tends to collect there. And not move to where it's supposed to go. It's not running off to, a basin or, a storm drain. So it's catching in areas, and that's what causes a lot of that deterioration. So anytime we get a big storm, anywhere there's water should never sit in a parking lot ever. Parking lots are designed to move the water 100%. So if you have water collection or ponding anywhere on the lot, that's an area that needs to be looked at, sooner than later, just because it's going to be a problem. So, and a lot of times guys will go out and just kind of mark it a little bit, and we can go out there and we can shoot grade and, let you know what it is.
I know Mike can support family ducks.
Yeah, there's a lot of ducks swimming in the parking lots in Phoenix. All right, nobody has any questions? I know Jennifer sent out, when she sent the invite out, my email is on there. If anybody, I'm gonna leave some beer koozies and bottle openers, the really nice bartender magnetic bottle openers, if anybody wants those. If anybody has any questions, again, we're free to come out, talk to you, give proposals to anybody we work with, all the property management companies in the valley. I'm not gonna say that I work with all the property management companies in the valley, because there's a couple of property managers that just hate me, right? I get it. It's okay. There's a lot that hate Dan too, but it's probably the same people. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to call me, ask, I'll come out, walk and talk with you, anything you have, or feel free to talk to anybody that we've done work for and see how we do. So with that said, it's 6 o'clock. I'll let you go. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Save me a bottle opener
It wasn't Jeremy, was it? Jeremy ain't kidding.
and a beer and a koozie.
Joey the Duke.
That was Maduke. That's
All
right.
right, well, I'm gonna leave a bunch here with Dan.
All right, thanks.
Responsibility for these.
So, all right, thank you guys very much.